Welcome to the Pitchwerks podcast. I'm Scott McTaggart. Over the last 20 years, I've been a sales rep, a marketer, a manager, an executive, a consultant, and an advisor. This show is designed to give you access to my list of contacts so that you can learn more about how to present your ideas at work and succeed in your career.
Startups and salespeople, marketers and managers from the Epic House Network in Pittsburgh. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
We learned about some incredible yarns that provide an active skin benefit. They don't have, they're not delivering active ingredients, but they actually work with your body heat to create a far infrared effect, and that improves the microcirculation right under the layers of your skin.
We are now officially out of my depth. Hey everybody, it's Scott and it is Wednesday, and that plus that equals Pitchwerks podcast. Thanks as always for tuning in. This week we've got Allison Howard. She is the founder and CEO of Auratek Textiles, and she and I have been trying to set this up for about a year. Been watching her over at Ascender for quite some time now. This is a hardworking person who engineered a new product. I think you're going to like what she has to say about a new entry in the bedding market. Before we get there, you know that I've got to ask you to rate and review the show because it helps other people find us, which is, sort of the whole thing is growing the audience. It's kind of what I get out of this whole adventure. So do that for me. Rating and review in iTunes. Just let us know what you think and let us know why you think it, and you're off the hook. It's permanent. You only have to do it one time. Let's talk to Allison and let's find out about what she's been working on for the last few years. All right, a show that is like a year in the making. Allison Howard, Auratek Textiles. How are you?
I am excellent, Scott. Thanks so much for having me.
I can't believe we pulled this off. It's a lot has gone into this. You've been working really hard on this product for some time, and I think we figured out the other day it was coming up on a year.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Although the story started before you and I met.
When did the story start?
Oh my, if I had to go back to the very beginning of the story, it's probably a story that's about 5 years old.
Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, as I started feeling like I was getting older and started paying more attention to my skin, I would wake up and look in the mirror and feel like my skin just looked slept on.
Oh, wow.
And I know that doesn't sound like
No. That's a problem that you found to solve. I mean, that's a classic entrepreneur scenario.
Yes, exactly. So that all started about 5 years ago, a lot of stuff in between, and here we are about ready to start selling.
So I think this is one of those times when we just have to kind of like hit everybody with the pitch to start off the show. Are you ready to give the pitch?
Always ready.
Let's have it.
Okay. So Auratek, as you said, we are a textile company. We are leading a revolution in skincare textiles. So what that means is that we are engineering fabrics that better manage moisture, temperature, and friction, and thereby are healthier for your skin.
Oh, that was nice. I like the engineering piece. Yeah. I think that was a critical turn in the road there.
It's an important part of who we are.
I like that. All right. So 5 years ago, you start noticing this problem and I can't imagine that you jump immediately to like, well, obviously I have to invent a company that solves this problem. I think most people would assume that there's already something out there to solve the problem.
Right, exactly. So when people have any type of problem, what's the very first thing that they do?
They go to Amazon.
They turn, or Google, right? Okay, this was 5 years ago. I turned to Google and said, Google skincare, pillowcase, what's out there. Surprisingly, even then, didn't find many solutions on the market. There's the obvious satin pillowcase and silk pillowcase, which I was familiar with all the way back to my grandmother. My grandmother always slept on a satin pillowcase, but I wasn't loving those answers.
Yeah.
And really didn't find much else on the market. There was one product that I purchased on Amazon. And
see, I end up right after all.
There you go. And so I purchased this product. I put it on my pillow. I slept on it. And I really honestly did feel different. I felt like, not that I woke up and looked 10 years younger, but I felt like, wow, okay, at least my skin doesn't look so slept on in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So, got involved actually with that product as a means of learning about the market. And, it was a good product, but I felt like there were lots of opportunities to make it better. And then that's, sort of where the leap came to I think I'm the person for the job.
So how did that happen? How is it that you're the person for that job?
So first of all, I've personally experienced this problem,
yes.
right? I've spent a lot of time digging in on the market and on the technical aspect, the technical aspect of the solution. I'm a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh, chemical engineering major.
Now we're getting into the meat of it, aren't we?
And honestly, I had gone into chemical engineering because someone told me when I was young, if you get a degree in chemical engineering, you can do whatever you want to do. And I said, awesome.
Yeah,
Sign me up for that. I want to keep my options open. I've always been that kind of person, less of a real specialist, more of a, very broad interest. And so chemical engineering was a great fit. I had a great start at Bayer, spent time both here at their Pittsburgh headquarters and at their global headquarters in Germany. Came back, was recruited to a former GE advanced materials business. So really, on a very progressive path in the chemical industry, but I couldn't get this idea out of my head.
Yeah.
And so in the fall of 2016, decided to take the leap into entrepreneurship out of corporate America, out of that sort of secure bubble with a paycheck and benefits.
The comfort trap.
Yeah. But I just didn't want to wake up someday and have a regret.
Yeah. I know exactly where you're coming from. You get to a point where you sit there and you say, like, okay, at what point do I start doing that thing that I'm really proud of? Right. And it's a weird, horrible way of sort of evaluating. Because, up until this point, I guarantee you had other successes. Right. But it's that restlessness where you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I did enough. Now you're talking to hotels. You're talking to a lot of different people. You're doing pre-sales right now. The month of July, you're doing a special pre-sale. So this is starting to be real. I saw you in the Post-Gazette. It is why I finally was like, Allison, we got it. You promised me you were coming on the show.
Time.
What are we doing? Tell me a little bit about how hectic it is right now. Tell me about, sort of what the day involves as you're trying to get the word out.
I had started to dip my toe even on this whole entrepreneur space for the past several years in Pittsburgh, and there's so much to tap into, which is awesome. And going to events and meeting people, and you certainly hear that entrepreneurs have to wear a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. This has become so real to me, especially in the past few months. Yeah. And not only do you wear the hat, you have to firmly put the hat on and be in that space, whatever that space is. That space might be HR, it might be IT, it might be accounting, it might be legal. And you really need to be in that space.
There's no special pass because you're new at this or because it's a small group. It still has to be right.
Right, exactly. Now, I did just bring my first full-time employee on June 1.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a major milestone.
Thank you very much for recognizing that. It feels like a major milestone.
It feels like giving birth is what it feels like.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm a dude, and I think that's what giving birth feels like.
Yeah, and so now I have someone else on the team.
What do they do? Like, what's the title?
She is the digital brand manager.
Okay, good. I was just curious, like, what did you kind of carve off for somebody else to do first?
Yes, exactly.
So many choices in that.
Right. So part of that process is figuring out, okay, what is that skill set that I don't have, but is most important at this state in the journey. Right. So, I would love to have 5 people on the team, but I got to start with one.
Yeah, this is a function of resources and money and time.
Absolutely. And so this whole realm of digital marketing and branding is not part of my real skill set. I've just sort of learned a little bit.
I don't know. I think you kind of have a natural aptitude for some parts of it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, no, sincerely, that pitch didn't come out of nowhere. And I'm not blowing smoke when I say, it's nice for several different reasons, not the least of which being that it imposes a new paradigm on the way people think about something that has been commoditized, right? So if you asked me to buy sheets and a pillowcase right now, what's likely to transpire from there? Well, Amazon, we already talked about it, right? Like I'm probably just going to go, okay, let's find out what's out there, right? The paradigm that exists right now is a bed sheet I believe I understand, and I don't think about the verb engineering figuring into this at all. So you, in your pitch, inject it in there and you're like, no, you don't understand. We're engineering it, which then changes the entire value conversation. And yeah, right now I'd probably base it on colors and price.
Right.
Does that sound right?
Maybe thread count.
Yeah. Maybe if you had Mrs. MacTech.
Maybe. Okay.
She's a little bit more savvy on that stuff. And I mean, I'm making fun of myself, but it is true. You know, I mean, I don't have necessarily an understanding of why I should be looking past low price and color.
Right.
So that's what you're doing.
But this concept of engineered fabrics is not new. I mean, look at this whole space of performance apparel, right?
Oh, okay.
We've totally picked up on how important this is in other areas of our life.
Yeah.
So really all I'm doing is showing why this is also important in this area of your life where you spend up to a third of your day.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that in the sleep business, whether you're talking mattresses or whatever, right? It's always a very blunt sort of like you spend a third of your day every day with this product of ours, whatever it may be, right? Why are you cutting corners on it?
Right.
That, on the other hand, though, because it's been done so many times, feels as though somebody like you who's innovating, you might want to steer clear of it too sometimes, right? It depends on the audience. That's why I like the fact that you didn't say that. You said engineered fabrics, and then you got into moisture. Was it friction?
And temperature.
And temperature was the other one. I was trying to remember all three, but you know what? Without my handy-dandy notepad, it didn't go as well as I was maybe hoping.
But they are intimately connected if you think about it.
Okay.
Moisture, temperature, and friction. So your body's always naturally giving off moisture.
Yeah.
Common bedding fabrics like cotton love moisture. Cotton absorbs moisture and holds on to it.
Right.
That in turn increases the friction between your skin and the fabric. And if you're concerned about your skin, the last thing that you want is something that's sticking to it and pulling on it.
Right. It feels great as I touch it. Right. I can't pretend though that I know everything that went into it, and that's why there's an education component to even your first explanation of it. And I like that. If I were going to add anything to the pitch that you gave, right, I would probably lead with something like, "Do you know what the number one thing is that?" Right, like. I always like starting with a question when I can. Now, granted, in my studio, it's not a good place to start with a question, so you probably do this already. But do you know what's a number one thing that sort of, ages your skin? It's dehydration. Am I right? It feels like it's right.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, no, we can't even say that, Scott. I mean, there are so many things that affect your skin. The sun is a huge impact on your skin. Your diet. Your sleep,
you definitely
your
don't want
stress,
scientific
smoking.
advice from me, right?
Right. So there are really a ton of things that impact the quality of your skin. But I will say I do have a version of the pitch where I start with a question, especially if the audience has a healthy number of women in it. I ask them, how many of you take care of your skin?
Right.
If you're taking care of your skin, then you are spending time, energy, and money. But what if I told you that there's a way to get a better return on that investment?
Right.
And then go into the problems with what we're sleeping on today.
Yeah, if you play it out, right? I'm buying lotion to put on my skin to have it leached out of my skin by something else, which is a less engineered, less, the sheets that you're buying right now do not align with your goals.
Exactly.
Is a weird B2B way that I just thought of saying it. You could tell I grew up in B2B. So real quick, we may as well plug it, right? If somebody wants to check out the presale, where do they go for that?
So our website is simply our company name, auratektextiles.com. So all one word, Auratek, AURATEK, and the word textiles.com.
And that's available till when?
Till the end of July 31st.
Like I said, we're going to sit here and talk about it for a minute. We may as well tell people where they can take a look at it.
I very much appreciate that.
So what's the purpose of the presale?
The purpose of the presale is really to gauge consumer demand. So we've been doing social media marketing for the last year and a half. So we're starting to get a sense of who's interested and how interested they are.
Right.
As I think you mentioned earlier, our initial focus on the sales side is high-end hospitality. And then, within that, really specifically wellness resorts, destination spas, places that need bed sheets and pillowcases and have wellness as an integral part of what they do.
Got it.
We think that if we have a read on that consumer demand, it will only help us to drive sales into hotels.
Have you thought at all about using it also as a way to gauge responsiveness to certain phraseology, right? So in other words, like we pushed this tweet out that talks about our scientific claims, for example. And we put this other one out, which doesn't really talk about science so much as it just says what it does, which is, more skincare, beauty, health, that type of thing. And then, okay, the science one didn't convert as many as the, science or the health and
the
whatnot.
Beauty,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. So there are so many things on our list to test.
Yeah.
We're not sure if 1 month is really the best or a reasonable time frame for doing that kind of test. We will certainly be able to gauge, interest in our site, interest in our Facebook page or our Instagram page. We're just not sure that 1 month is long enough to actually convert those brand new eyeballs into sales.
Actually, that makes perfect sense. If I were in my right mind, I would have come to that conclusion on my own.
So really what we're looking at is those people that we've attracted over the last year and a half. How interested are they in actually opening up their wallet?
Yeah, absolutely.
And using that as a measure. I mean, ultimately, again, we want to do both. We want to do both B2B sales and B2C sales. Mm-hmm. There's just two of us today, though.
Yeah. And again, I have my own bias, right? I really loathe the idea of B2C just in general with new products. And that's not to say that you shouldn't. It's just me personally. I look at that as a just Herculean effort of getting the right
Marketing.
Message for how many buyers. Now, it is how empires are built, right? When you can get 10,000 people to buy something, you're a lot more secure than getting one person to buy 10,000, equivalent. Because if that one person goes away, now you have a serious problem on your hands, right? The brands we know have a tendency to be B2C. But
sure.
I don't know. I just don't want to be the guy doing it. Let's go back to the science, though. I want to talk about that a little bit. As I was kind of talking about the sort of A/B testing thought process, right? It occurs to me that, some people push the envelope on scientific claims. These male supplements, which are all over television, make the most ridiculous claims, right? How do you make the decision of what to include, what not to include? How conservative or how far out on the envelope are you comfortable being?
So as a scientist myself, having sound scientific claims is very important.
Yeah, that does change it.
So my very first advisor to the company is a former R&D director from Estee Lauder. And I specifically sought out that kind of expertise. This guy is a physical chemist. He spent his entire career, he's recently retired, spent his entire career studying the interface between skin and cream.
If I wasn't worried about unplugging a cable, I'd come over and high five you right now. That's a really good advisor.
Yes, he has been fabulous. Anyways, so I sought that out at the very beginning because, again, having that sound scientific basis for our claims is very important to me personally. And so early on, we did some testing with our fabric prototypes at a third-party lab that does a lot of claim substantiation work for the cosmetics industry. So they have a broad range of tests and ways to evaluate the impact of cream on skin. We tweaked those methods to be able to test fabric on skin and see the impact on things like hydration and surface appearance. And so that was very interesting work. What we, however, quickly learned is that, of course, hindsight's always 20/20. There is such a variation in skin, right, person to person, and even on a person, skin around their body. Very, very different. Mm-hmm. For us to have enough of a sample size to make scientifically sound claims, that was going to far exceed our budget today.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So we got
directionally correct data. We said, this is really interesting. We'll come back to you guys when we have more money to get a bigger sample size. And then we really had to turn to existing science. There's really a ton of existing science out there. Earlier, I mentioned performance apparel, even things like socks that looks at the impact of fabrics and skin.
Thank goodness, right?
Thank goodness. Yeah, exactly. And so, we've been able to lean on that and then just supplement with some other lab tests to show the impact, moisture, temperature, and friction.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fastest ways to get disqualified, especially in a B2C environment, right? It is to make a claim that no one believes. So much so that I have actually yanked completely 100% legitimate claims that sounded like they were too far, right? I've literally decided to, bury the real headline because I'm like, nobody's going to believe it. And then all they're going to do is say, see, those guys will totally lie to you if you give them a chance.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I feel like my personal reputation is at stake, right? And so if anything, I've erred on the side of being too cautious and too conservative. I will always say to people, please don't expect that you're going to wake up tomorrow and look 10 years younger.
One thing you didn't say to me when I asked about the pre-sale campaign here is you don't want to move 1 million units, right? This is more of like a tentative put. Okay, she's making a face that suggests that maybe I'm wrong on that. Well, a lot of times these are intended to be a first foray into like, what does a customer you don't know say back, or how do they react? Because scaling up, you don't want to scale up wrong. You don't want to give people something and then find out that it's not what they actually wanted. Tell me a little bit about what keeps you up at night as far as scaling up.
I feel that this endeavor is so intimately linked with my personal reputation that I don't want to deliver something that that people don't want, right? And that's part of the reason why we did a 7-week trial in a boutique hotel.
Nice.
We wanted to first and foremost, get the feedback from the housekeepers when they are washing it every day. And how does this compare to what you're using in terms of making the bed? Appearance is so important for hotels and time, right? Does it wash faster, dry faster? So, first and foremost, that was designed to get the feedback from the housekeepers, but how beautiful. We're also in front of new people every day. This hotel has an average length of stay of just a night or two. So, we got lots of exposure over that
fantastic.
7-week period and could gather that feedback.
How'd you get that done? How did you even set that up?
Networking. I knew someone who knew the owners of this boutique hotel that felt like the best place in the city to test just because of their brand and what they stand for. And so I just worked the network and got a connection and made my pitch. And fortunately, they said yes.
Nice. So what'd you learn?
The housekeepers loved it.
Did they?
Yeah. We hadn't really thought about the effect on making the bed and stripping the bed because our fabric has a little bit of a slip component to it.
Yeah.
It's engineered to manage friction. The sheets slide easier.
Right.
They said, wow, it's faster to make the beds. It's faster to strip the beds. They found the fabric to be easier to clean than 100% cotton, which is not something that I was thinking of. I expected them to say it dries faster. Right. Based on the composition and construction, which they confirmed. So yeah, the housekeepers were very happy. And on the guest side, again, it's tricky. If you're only sleeping on the sheets for one night, it's hard to legitimately ask, how does your skin look in the morning, right? And so we asked really more about the experience and how did this affect your sleep? Right? Because that is something that you would legitimately know after just one night.
Well, and a lot of times it's about ruling out. Was there anything that would make you rule out our product, right? Was it, like you said, your sleep was affected. Was it uncomfortable in any way? Did you feel like it was, too present in your experience in the hotel, right? Because if people have a reason to rule it out, now you've got valuable data. And you're like, okay, some people are just going to, it's just not going to agree with them. And you want to know that in a small sample size. Right.
But the very tricky thing about surveys is that you want people to fill them out, right? So you have to make them as short and simple as possible.
Yeah.
So, but we really got great feedback on the sleep side. Everyone said, yes, absolutely, positive impact on my sleep experience, so much so that it's made us want to really study that. Mm-hmm. Even though skin is our primary angle, sleep is a even bigger market.
Can I give you a tricky commercial phrase to use there? What was it? Users reported. I love that one.
Okay, that's good.
And users reported feeling more refreshed in the morning, right? It's like, what does refreshed mean?
It sounds good. I want it.
Yeah. And they're like, not only does it take care of your skin, but users reported, a 17% increase in sleep quality. Long-term goals. Where ultimately do you want Auratek to go?
So I'll just come back to who we are. We are a textile company. We are not just a bedding company. So we aspire to be part of every application where skin and fabric are in direct contact. We've got our second application in a prototype right now. It's an eye mask. Now, of course, that goes along with sleep, but we have just found that there are a lot of women who are especially concerned about the skin around their eye area. In our yarn research and sort of textile research, we learned about some incredible yarns that provide an active skin benefit. They don't have, they're not delivering active ingredients, but they actually work with your body heat to create a far infrared effect, and that improves the microcirculation right under the layers of your skin.
We are now officially out of my depth.
Anywho, we've just come across some amazing yarn technologies.
We can't all be chemical engineers, Allison.
So well suited for an eye mask application that we had to make a few prototypes. I've been sleeping with it for the past several months. I love it. And so that's going to be probably the next product that we add into our repertoire. But, again, just we aspire to be part of every application where skin and fabric are in direct contact. So you could think about pajamas, loungewear, underwear, socks, gloves.
So you think you might want to go the Gore-Tex type of a route and be one of the components to somebody's larger product?
You and I have talked about that in the past.
I was trying to pretend like we hadn't.
It's a great idea. I don't know. I mean,
to be continued for sure.
Right. We've even had at this very early stage, which is so humbling, interest from the fashion community and wanting to use our fabrics. And we're very open to partnering.
Right.
There is another large company that reached out several months ago just based on us having a website and expressed interest. So we're very open to that. It's not something that I'm, aggressively planning for right now.
It just seemed like the shortest, fastest path to the pajamas and coat liners and anything else that you might be able to come up with. The other one that seems to be a big deal, tell me if I'm wrong, is hands. Hand skin seems to be a real concern.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I learned from my former Estee Lauder advisor is the 3 areas of your body that show your age: your face, your neck, and your hands.
I had them. I actually knew. And here's why. Because again, if you follow the commercials on TV, you can kind of figure it out. That's where all the focus is.
Right.
That's where people look like they're spending money according to where the advertisers are going.
Right. So, just kind of going back to some of these really cool yarns that are available on the market, looking at making gloves that you could sleep with that would provide an active benefit to your hand so that you wake up with nicer looking skin on your hands.
There you go. I honestly think that's something, and you wouldn't need a partner at that point. You could do it the same way you're doing bedding.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So let's give them the URL one more time just to make sure that, because they've got some time if they want to participate in the pre-sale.
Yes.
And plug-in stuff makes me feel good. Go ahead.
Thank you. So just until July 31st at our website, auratektextiles.com. So AURATEK and the word textiles.com.
And then that goes until the end of July. Is that a full set that you're selling?
You can either purchase a full set, which would include a flat sheet, a fitted sheet, and 2 pillowcases, or you can just purchase a pillowcase set, so 2 pillowcases, and both of those come in either queen size or king size.
There you go. I think we gave them everything. Allison, a year in the making. Here we are. We did the show. It's official. It's in the books. I'm really glad for your success.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here.
All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks as always for tuning in. Thanks to Allison. Make sure you check out the pre-sale. I think it's at least a good way to see how she changed the conversation away from just what's the lowest price and what colors does it come in and how fast can it be here. A lot of times when you're in the sales function, it's hard just to keep it fresh and not get stuck in that low price rut. Otherwise, Buzzy and I are going to make another one of these Pitchwerks podcasts. We will have it back out for you next Wednesday as per usual. And don't forget to subscribe so it comes to you automatically. Every week, it's sales, it's marketing, it's startups. It's the Pitchwerks podcast.
The Pitchwerks podcast comes to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A production of the Epicast Network and McTaggart, LLC. Engineering and production by Buzzy Torek and Nick Miller. For more information, show feedback, and ad sales, visit pitchwerks.com. pitchwerks.com. On social media, find and follow the show on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram using that same brand name, PITCHWERKS.